Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. The Practical Guitarist Podcast is brought to you by Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Great Lakes Guitar Pickups provides fantasy tones at prices a practical guitarist will love. Featuring top-notch construction, attention to detail, and a fully custom product, if you can dream it, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups can probably build it. Follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Are you a regular listener? Why not? David here reminding you of all the ways you can participate in the Practical Guitarist Podcast. Subscribe using your chosen podcast app. Review us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/practicalguitarist or on Twitter as @practguitarist. Support the show. Merchandise is available in our Threadless store at practicalguitaristpodcast.threadless.com. And donate to us via Patreon, available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. Reach out to us directly via email at questions@practicalguitarist.com.
Hi, David.
What have you been doing? Sitting there waiting on me to come back from my my trip.
Your trip to the place that no one wants to know
the
about.
reading room at the library.
Right.
Is the library.
Oh, good Lord. So I'm trying to link the stupid deal of the day, and for some reason, Facebook keeps saying it's a snare drum.
Oh my gosh!
It's the low blow pedal by Wampler.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm just going to throw up.
Speaking of new pedals,
yeah,
I posted an Instagram thing that had people guessing. I guess it got shared to Facebook too. But got this guy, which I'm holding up in my hand and no one can see. This is a Boss Angry Driver JB2, courtesy of Good Time Music. I purchased this the other day.
Yep.
Oh, Year of No Gear is over.
It is, yeah.
If you didn't believe it was over, it's over now, folks.
Yeah, it's been over for a while.
So I picked this guy up. I did an open mic Friday night, and I didn't. So this goes back to other open mics I've done in the past, where it's like you can't set up your own gear,
right.
no amps, nothing like that. I always tried to bring a distortion pedal or something that would get closer to the feel and response of the amp that I normally use.
Right.
So I've been kind of digging for a while. I had the Wampler Pinnacle V2 that I demoed. I sold. Well, it's not really sold. It's on its way to Robert Jackson right now, so he can demo it. And then it's going to go. It's actually already listed on Reverb, but it's listed at an insanely high price, and nobody will buy it. When it arrives at Robert Jackson's, because the USPS decides they're going to stop being dicks, because I sent it like 2 weeks ago and it's still not there, or 3 weeks ago and it's still not there. I don't know what's caused this. I've got a ticket open with them. My pedal may be gone. I don't know. But I needed a distortion pedal for this. So I grabbed this guy. I didn't end up using it. We'll talk about that later in the show.
They may have lost your Pinnacle. Well, hopefully you insured it, right? You were smart enough to insure it.
I had $50, the minimum. It was like $5 extra to insure it for a $10 shipping. I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I do it.
I'll eat it. I ship enough stuff, and I've never had anything get lost or stolen. So it's like I'll gamble, because if I have it happen once every 50 packages, which is probably what I've sent through USPS in the last year.
Yep.
I've never had a problem like this. So my guess is it'll probably get found in the back of a postal service truck or something. Because that's usually what happens. But if it got stolen, I'll probably push them, because somebody told me that you can go to them even if you're not insured. If it's stolen, if they can't find any evidence that was damaged or destroyed, they have to compensate you regardless of what you insured it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not. I've been told that, so we'll push on that. But
yeah, well, it'd be interesting, because I'll share this with people. I always insure for the actual value of the item. So like just
New
recently,
value or used value?
huh?
New value or used value?
New.
See, that's the thing. If you, and I've read this before too, where if they really want to push the button, they could be like you overinsured and only pay you for the value of it used.
Well, I can tell you this: they don't know what's inside.
Yeah, I mean, normally that's exactly the case.
They don't know if I put a brick in there or if I put a rubber snake.
Yeah,
They have no idea.
if it disappears, if it's damaged,
Right.
then they do.
That's a different
and
thing.
more. And I think more often than not, it's probably damaged.
Yeah. Well, that's a different thing altogether. Well, I know that you guys are going through some storms right now.
Well, yeah, and there's the shutdown going on, which is further screwing things up. Even though they say the post office is not affected. Listen, I've seen more postal service bullshit since the shutdown began than I've ever seen. So I don't know what is going on over there. Whether it's just our local post office is like going through some things, but I know the tracking system was completely down the other day. Nobody could track anything. I'm like, what is going on?
So I had a package. It was supposed to come Friday, and it didn't. I had the Katana GAFC coming, or Boss GAFC, because it's used for the next tone, it's used for the Katana, it's used for the artist, it's used for a lot of Boss stuff. So it's not like the GAFC is used for just one thing. But and for folks saying, "Oh, that's your end of your year of 2 years of no gear." Well, let me tell you something. I don't know about you guys, and we'll talk more about why.
It's not a competition. It's a state of mind.
That's right, and that's number one. And number two, you know what? This thing is useless without the foot switch. If you're going to use it live, just useless. But anyway, I'll go into that later. But what I'm getting at is UPS said, yeah, it's on a truck. This is UPS, not USPS.
Yeah, I would rather ship with UPS than in UPS.
Yeah, it's supposed to be here Saturday. It never even left Roanoke, and yet I even called them, and it said the thing. I was like, I didn't see a on truck for delivery or whatever they usually say, out for delivery. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, they never put it on. But they say it's supposed to be Monday. It's supposed to be normal working hours for UPS. So I don't work Monday. I'm a government employee.
Yeah, they are normal working hours.
Right now. All right. So, good thing I'm retired military. Which, by the way, that is not affected because I'm Department of Defense. So moving right along. So I got some stuff. The pickups are here. So the guitar pickups are not only here, they're in the guitar. I'll be posting no later than tomorrow afternoon. I'll be posting some sounds. I just wanted to get a feel for it, see where, because remember, this is going into a five-way blade. Those are two wire pickups, so there's no 5-way to it. It's just 3-way. The two outer positions, 2 and 4 are the same as 3. So
right.
But typically you wouldn't put that into a 5-way, but you can. It sounds great. I'll just say that it sounds great. For whoever wins these, talk about a win. I'm just going to say that these things are beautifully articulate. I don't want to put any tones or any sounds into somebody's mind. But they're in a basswood body right now with a maple neck, rosewood fretboard. Actually, I think that's like a fake ebony. But anyway, with a shark tooth thing, and even in this crappy guitar with poopy pickup or a poopy
bodywood.
Yeah, bodywood and tone and volume knob. This thing sounds incredible. It brought this guitar to life and made it like, okay, now I know why this. Because this thing, I didn't want to do a before and after. Because what is the point? That's like showing, hey, you know what? I had a rowboat. Now I have the Princess Cruise Line, and look at how much better the Princess Cruise Line is than the rowboat.
Frankly, just showing that Ibanez guitar with those pickups in it and what it sounds like, it's pretty clear that the pickups are doing the work. I'm not going to poo-poo basswood specifically, but I will say this much. Basswood gets used in a lot of lower end guitars, and there are different species of it. And the stuff that like Sir uses, they're not using basswood you're getting in a cheapy Ibanez. That's totally different animal. And even when they do stuff like that, what they'll do is they'll sandwich it with they'll use some other harder wood on top, usually like alder.
Yep. Now I will say this about this guitar, folks. This is an RG. This is I say a middle of the road. It's the lower end of the middle of the road RG. It brand new. This thing would have cost right around $500, $400-$500. They go for $300 all day long on the used market.
Yeah. They're not highly sought after.
No, but it's got a unique look, and that's really all it's got. The pickups were total trash.
I'm sure people are going to give me shit for this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Since we're talking about Ibanez, because we're talking about this guitar, anybody who's owned an Ibanez, until you get into like I would believe, at least in my estimation, the really high end stuff, the $1,000 plus like Prestiges and those kinds of things, I don't think they have any soul.
No.
I mean, honestly, like I've played Squires that I felt more kinship with than, and I mean that in a very like spiritual sense. And I don't mean to wax philosophical for everybody, but I really feel like a connection to certain guitars, especially, but not Ibanez's in any way. I've never picked up a sub like $1,000 Ibanez that I was going to bond with.
No, I think that
I've had several.
So the lowest cost Ibanez I ever picked up had a Wizard 2 neck, and it was a what they called a super strap, and I want to say it was a Prestige model. I mean, honestly,
they make some really good stuff, man.
Yeah, they make. I mean, look, the Satriani models are incredible. I'm not talking about the low end Satrianis like JS 100. I'm talking about the 1,000, the 2,000, and so on and so forth, and the muscle car one. The gems are they are just that. The gems are gems.
Yeah, they're the same thing at the top end of that range. Like you get into these extremely, and those guitars, I feel like there's so much soul put into them that you get this instant feeling like every gem I picked up has been slightly different and had a different personality and spoke differently to me. Whereas if I pick up one of those ash body RGs that they're selling right now, the ones that we've talked about that are really heavy, I just didn't feel the soul in them. I mean, it just felt like they came off of a machine. And I know that's like totally a head trip thing with me because obviously you can't tell the difference. I mean, that Squire I just picked up came off the machine too. Right. I don't really feel a whole lot of connection with a lot of those guitars either, but I have found a few where, they had something special going on.
Yeah, there's something there. What was I going to say? I always forget Gilbert has a signature Ibanez as well. And that
the Fireman that he's got out right now?
Yeah, it's called the Fireman, right?
I can't stand it.
I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that like it.
It's heavy. And the other thing is the neck is like, if you have big hands and big fingers, you'll love it. I don't. So it's just not going to do it for me.
But remember, he's got fingers that are what?
Like 9 inches long or something.
Yeah, he measures his fingers with
a beach ball.
Yeah, when he palms the beach ball. When people are throwing the beach ball at me, just I got this.
Puts out the web,
Yeah. And he can do that when the guy's got an 8 fret stretch, and he can do a barred chord on it. I mean, come on.
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you. Having seen him live, Jim, if you get the chance, you got to go because I saw him with Mr. Big last year. I think I talked about it on the show. I'm pretty sure the show was going on when I saw him. And it's just, I'm still kind of like awestruck because he's not as good a player as he is. He's not the guy that stands there and does that on purpose all night long. Like it's very like confined to specific parts of the set and like very specific to what he's doing. And you don't normally find that with shred guys where they're like very tasteful about where they're going to throw it in.
Right.
And that's what really impressed me about seeing Paul Gilbert. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I haven't seen him live, but I've seen so many videos of his that I really do want to see him when he comes.
So much feel for a shredder. I mean,
yeah. The last time I saw a shredder, well, other than Buckethead, before that it was Satriani, and it was like 2000. No, maybe 13.
Yeah, I saw him probably 2005. It's a long time ago.
It was probably not any different. Take my word.
Yeah, the set list didn't look that different. Let's put it that way.
And I will say
Couple new songs.
the only Ibanez, I think he was doing something Supernova. The only Ibanez that I've ever looked at that I thought, you know what, I would spend that kind of money on after having seen and played the Jiva 10 now.
Yeah, you played it now.
Yeah, is the Satriani 2200, I think, model, the muscle car red one, or the
I get why people are into the Jiva thing, like, because Ibanez really isn't putting out a really good Prestige S series right now for a reasonable amount of money, but it's not a reasonable amount of money for what it is.
It's not. It's just not.
It's Indonesian, right?
Yeah. It's
which kills me because it's in the Prestige price range. It's like,
right.
What?
It's $1,500 or more. Yeah. Is it more?
For a special inlay and some special pickups.
Yeah, for a special inlay, some special pickups, and the fact that it's the first female signature model from Ibanez.
Yeah, from Ibanez.
Yeah.
Does Mrs. Smith signature model, when it comes out later this year, going to count?
I don't know.
No, it's
We'd
coming.
have to ask.
You know it's coming.
I'd have to ask her if that's.
I don't know how she would consider that. So
yeah, that's a good question for her.
So,
all right. So anyway, let's see. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of the show, shall we?
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. So,
what is your shoe size?
What is your favorite color?
What is your favorite color?
I watched that today, by the way.
Did you?
Oh yeah. My wife and I were cracking up.
I was thinking about sitting down and watching Halloween tonight. Halloween 2018.
The new one? Yeah, it's really good. Highly recommend.
I don't have how do I say this? I have it. I bought it in 4K. I don't have a 4K TV.
You don't need to.
I'll say. Anyway,
you bought it online, right?
Yeah, I bought it. Well, I bought it the Blu-ray digital.
Oh, so you got like the whole
4K, the whole.
Watch it online. It's fine.
That's I'm gonna just watch it.
Let's talk. Can we talk about open mics first?
Well, yeah. Should we? Since we opened the Pandora's box of open mic.
Yeah, since I already talked about it.
So it's that time of year, folks. Usually when clubs are, especially in the winter time, less in the summer, more in the winter, fall, winter, clubs tend to take their slow nights, which are typically Monday through Thursday, depending on the club. And a lot of clubs are closed on Sundays, and then they pick a day during the week. So these open mics kind of bring people in. They bring in the folks from, that wouldn't typically come out, whether it's your buddies, or yourselves, your fellow musicians. So I want to talk a little bit about open mics. I want to talk about the music side of it. I also want to talk a little bit about the protocols of, how you should act an open mic, especially if you're intending on an open mic turning into something that's going to be paid. So let's talk about open mics. First of all, typically they're weekdays, and it's tough because they don't start early. I don't know what time does your open mic that you go to start?
I got really lucky. My open mic was on Friday. And they start racking up at 8:00.
That is unheard of.
Yeah.
Both of those things are unheard of. Yeah. 8:00 is almost unheard of,
yep.
Although some of the weekday ones are.
Now, they don't do it every week. It's like every once in a while they do. But yeah. Friday open mic, hell yeah, sign me up. That's like the easiest night for me to go. And frankly, like, it was really cool. There was a lot of people there. There was probably 10, 15 musicians and probably 30, 40 people.
Yeah. And so for an open mic, let's talk a little bit about how do you get ready for an open mic? What do you do to prepare to play for an open mic?
Well,
and I'm not talking about gear wise. I'm talking about
what embarrass the crap out of myself tonight
to prepare David for an open mic.
I'm going to embarrass the crap out of myself tonight, and I'm going to eat crow, and I want to be very honest with our listeners. The last jam night that I went to was the one I talked about on the show, probably back in September or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I went on stage at this place, and I literally did my prep there while I was sitting in the venue, meaning I decided what songs I felt comfortable playing. And I've been playing so when I go into an open mic, your question is, how do I prepare? I make sure I got the guitar I need tuned up. I've got fresh strings on it. I do stretch them out, so I try to put them on the day before. Yeah. I play my ass off for that week because I knew I was going on Monday. So yeah. I'm like, I'm taking Friday off. I will rehearse all day Friday, which is what I did. I rehearsed to the point where even today when I was playing, I was like in a lot of physical pain. Yeah. And so I guess putting myself in that state where I was going to play was very different than it has been in the past. When I was younger and I was in a regular band and we played pretty frequently, I would say probably twice a month for a good 9 or, between 9 and 12 months, we were gigging pretty regularly like that. Yep. I never felt like panic or anything like that getting on stage. There was no anxiety whatsoever. Even going in and sitting in with other bands like I've done in the past couple of years, I don't really feel a lot of anxiety. I feel like in those situations, I already kind of know what I'm getting myself into. I know the players. I kind of know the set list that they usually do, so I can pick a couple of songs I can play on and those kind of things. This was incredibly weird for me to walk into a place where it wasn't a jam night, so I wasn't expected to get up there and play somebody else like what they wanted to play or anything like that. I was going in there. I had to pick the tunes and had to figure out all the minutia of like who's doing what, and it was not a fun experience for me. I was having a mild panic attack before I went on stage, and so I heard my phone typing in song names that I thought maybe I could do, and like it was.
Would I be out of line in saying that you were relatively uncomfortable?
Oh, completely uncomfortable. And actually, when I got on stage, so here's the thing. I brought my angry driver, not knowing what the rig setup situation was going to be like at all. Like, I didn't even know if they were going to have an amp. So part of me was like, if they don't have an amp, maybe they just won't play. Somebody will have an amp, right? Like, so I went, and they had like an old PV, like Predator or something, like old PV amp.
Wow.
It was like a 2x12 combo, and it was probably tube. It's ancient, right? I'm not even sure the damn thing worked because nobody turned it on. And then there was a Digitech GNX on the floor. So when I went to, when they called me up, which was funny because there's no sign up sheet. You just had to introduce yourself to everybody, and then they were like, literally, it was all friendly, and everybody was like pointing at other people and like, hey, they should play now. So when it came my turn, right, they called me up, and he's like, what do you got to plug in? I'm like, well, I got an angry driver. He's like, no. He's like, we got you. Don't worry about it. So plugged me into the GNX, showed me where the boost and stuff was at on it, and just let me go to town. But it was funny because I was like, well, let's see how this goes, because I've had so many bad experiences plugging into crap that I'm just like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this. Like, this is not going to work. I don't play clean. What the hell? Like, this isn't even Edge of Breakup. Like, what? So plugged into that, showed me where the boosts were at, showed me the clean dirty. I was like, just put it on dirty. Like, I don't need to know where the clean dirty is at. Just leave it on the dirty channel. I'll use my volume knob. And then he showed me the boost. I was like, oh, I'll need to know that, And it was funny because they looked at me and they're like, what song to play? Do you want to play? And I looked around the club and I was like, God, what do we do? So I'm like, well, just play Foxy. And so I started playing. And of course, nobody, like, I didn't sing it. I told the guys, like, we'll just do an instrumental. They're like, well, is this going to turn into a jam? And it like kind of something, but then it's like, I was like, no, that's cool. We didn't do that. So as I started to play, all of a sudden this guy comes up out of the audience and starts singing. And he's got the lyrics on his phone, and he's halfway decent. He knows the song. He's like, well, I'm not going to let you get through Hendrix without singing it. So we played,
I told you somebody'd show up.
It went really, really well. I think most of the audience responded to it really well because it's not, we'll get to why. Then I played a Robin Trower tune that nobody knew. And so
a Robin Trower tune nobody knew. I can't
big
believe
surprise,
that.
right? Davey Eagle. So like that kind of went into a jam territory, and it paid out pretty cool. Like I think people were like okay with that. So then because I knew I was going to close the set with Purple Haze.
Okay,
like I can play that in my sleep. So we closed the set with that. Same guy came back up, sang most of that song. It was funny because the drummer he's one of the hosts, and he was really good. And he's like, I've never played that song before in my life. And I'm like, you did fine. Like, it sounded great. And it was a really good experience. I came off stage, and we'll get to the physical side after I talk about what happened. I came off stage. My wife was sitting there with her friend, and they were like, I was like, I could have been better. And my wife looked at me, she goes, that was a lot better than the last time you played out. I was like, really? And her friend was like, yeah, I didn't know you were that good. And I'm like, I just kind of gave her like the Forrest Whitaker eye for a moment.
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Like, if you had too much to drink, like, you need me to drive you home?
You didn't know I was that good? Let me show you how good I am.
No. So the funny part about it was that because I have never really had to deal with nerves in the same way as last night on stage. And I think it's just because there's so much distance between me and performing. I could not control my strength.
Right.
Which was another level compared to what it usually is. Like, you guys have probably seen me play live in the Facebook group. If you haven't, join the Facebook group, please. Get a feel for who Jim and I are as players, because we do that stuff occasionally. And you'll see, like, my playing is very finesse, and it's very, like, particular, and it was not that way at all. It was kind of wild and out there. And I tried to slow myself down consciously when I was doing the Foxy solo and stuff, and, like, it wasn't happening. And it just, I was having trouble getting the feel down. And I'm sure you've been through that long time ago, Jim. You're probably, like, way beyond that at this point, because you do a lot more gigs than I do.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was a big learning experience for me. And that's really strange, because I've been playing, music for almost 20 years now. Yep. And have been playing live for a good portion of that, probably the first 10. And then for about 10 years, I've been doing it sporadically. And this was kind of like panic attack inducing. And it just means I got to do it more. Like, I need to get out and do it more. And I'm not discouraged at all. I don't want our listeners to think I'm discouraged by this. Like, this is absolutely me being like, all right, challenge accepted. I'm going to do this. But yeah, so prep wise, like I said, I just practice the hell out of everything I can before I go. And it's not just like specific songs, because you never know if you're going to end up getting paired up with somebody or something like that. You just got to be on your toes and, like, willing to work with different things. Right. If you can put down a set list, if you're going to be playing by yourself or whatever, do it for sure. Because I sat there and I was like, what songs? Because I knew I was having to play with their drummer and their bass player. And I'm like, man, I can't play Whipping Post. That's got that's got a section 7/8 and then 6/8. Like, for most of it, and they're never gonna, like, it's gonna be too hard to follow. And that would have been my preferred choice. I could have done that all night long. But
I know you mentioned that to me when you were going out there.
Yeah, well, and that was the funny thing. So every open mic or whatever I've been to, the guys are, like, pretty classic rock oriented. They know you say a Hendrix tune and they're like, oh yeah, we'll sing that for you, no problem. Like, that's usually the case. Or you want to play a Led Zeppelin tune, like, everybody knows it. This place, the guy before me got up and he played Seek and Destroy from Metallica, and then he played Eruption, and then he played You Really Got Me, and there was some other tune. Actually, there was a couple other tunes in there. A guy after me gets up and plays Brewster from Alice in Chains.
Nice.
And, Smashing Pumpkins song, he plays Bullet with Butterfly Wings and something else. So it was just like a really weird mix of music. And the guy in front of me was doing all these, like, 60s folk tunes. So it was just like all over the place. I'm
that
like,
would have been me.
On an acoustic?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
if I was up there on an acoustic, it'd probably been, well, not 60s, but late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, there was like Vietnam protest music. Like,
I wouldn't have been that wouldn't have been.
And it was good. Like,
except for maybe
honest, the guy had me like fixed to what he's doing, but it was just really weird, because I'm like, every venue I go to, it's like 12-bar blues, 12-bar blues, 12-bar blues. Oh, and then we're gonna throw on this classic rock tune, and then, like, maybe we'll do a surf song or something. Yep. Yeah, this was totally different. Totally different.
I'm that guy that gets up there on an acoustic and does stuff like Wildfire from Michael Martin Murphy. Or I'll go, or Let It Be, or
no, that's the kind of stuff I'd expect, right? Yeah. That's classic rocky, like,
I mean,
poppy stuff.
the only protest songs I like Fortunate Son and have you ever seen The Rain, which is another protest song. But other than that,
this stuff was earlier than that even. And that's why I'm like, ooh, like
people like it.
Yeah. No, dude was super cool. He was an older gentleman. And I hope he comes back next time I'm up there because I really enjoyed hearing him. But
you should jump up with him.
I was going to ask because the guy that was playing Alice in Chains and stuff, I'm like, man, I know all of those solos. Just call me up there. Like I got it by ear. I don't even have I play along with the records enough that it's just like I don't need to really like know how to play it. Like I know the notes enough. I can fake it for you. Trust me.
I was just doing that tonight when I was playing around with this. I was like, oh, you know what? Because I was looking at Nick Bonger's thing online because he showed off his flashy guitar, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to play some Kiss here.
So I don't want to turn this into the David show, but I do want to bring up one last thing about this, the open mic thing. So I bought the Angry Driver, right? I didn't use it, obviously. But here's the funny part. I get there. I'm there about 45 minutes early. We get a table right up front. I'm sitting there, and I see people start coming in, right?
Yep.
And people are bringing in giant pedal boards. I'm not talking little pedal boards. The guy had a Pedal Train Terra, all right? 42-inch pedal board.
Holy shit, the Terra.
And so him and his buddy are talking, and I'm over here, and I'm like, oh, it'll be nice. I'll go introduce myself. And I over here, and they're using the AX8. So I'm like, oh, Fractal, like, I'm interested. I want to hear what this thing sounds like. I'm really happy that I'm here tonight because I get to hear one in person, like in a gig situation. And
anyway, a lot different.
The funny thing was, the guy with the Pedal Train Terra, that's all that was there. He had an AX8 on it. So it was like 3/4 empty.
I was going to say that's like a great big pedal board with like this much stuff on it.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just like, I was just kind of funny because I was like, oh, I was expecting him to have all these really cool boutique pedals and stuff, and it's like an AX8.
Yeah, that's
all right, that works.
They probably did. There's a couple of people that are online in my area that are selling off their big, huge pedal boards.
Yeah,
they got an Axe-Fx.
Well, after going through that gig, I came home and I spent not a gig, but that whole thing. I came home and I spent all day the next day dialing in Helix patches. Because I am bound and determined to go back there with my Helix and see what it sounds like. I really want to
get right into the PA
situation and go right into the PA and see if I can eke something out of it. Because just playing through that GNX, like I was like, this is fine. To be honest with you, I could feel a difference, but it wasn't enough that like the audience could tell.
Right.
And I was still having fun. So I'm like, I could get by with the Helix.
And you might be surprised what it sounds like cranked in an environment like that.
Well, with the patches I dialed in, it's going to sound freaking great because I'm taking a whole new approach. I will share these patches in the group for anybody who has a Helix if you want to check them out.
Awesome.
Yeah, they have impulse responses with them, but I can tell you what the impulse responses are. You can either go out and get them, or you can just put a cabinet model from the Helix on them and check them out. But they're cool. I like them, and I think they're the best patches I've ever made. And I spent this morning, I got up about 6 a.m. I came in the living room and I played until my fingers were about to bleed and dialed in some more. So it's a whole new ball game for me. I'm looking at things differently. The guy at the AX8, I like the sound. It's a little dark, but I like the sound quite a bit. And I think that sounded better than the guys that were there with an amp. So for what it's worth, I think going direct now may be the thing.
Yep. I honestly, the world is going to that as much as we keep fighting it. The world around us is moving forward, and if you don't, you can keep up or you cannot keep up, and you can have your own voice. Nobody is telling you can't.
No. That's what the impulse responses allow you to do. I mean, you custom tailor what you're using. The IRs you like may not be the IRs the other guy likes.
That's right.
And the amp models and so before it's all over with, you've got a completely custom thing anyway. The other thing is, I was talking to a listener to the show, Jeff Biesiadecki, who works at Good Time Music, and he and we both have Helixes. He's got the Stomp, I've got the full, the floor, and we were having a big discussion about how, we both think that the Helix is really good, but it's not as good as a real amp. But then it dawned on me, as part of the course of the conversation, that's what this is, though. These amps, they're luxury items.
That's right.
And they're really, really cool, but they're luxury items. And I think we're getting more, as being a practical guitarist, we're getting more towards not using the luxury items, especially in those kind of situations. Who the heck? There were people bringing their amps in, right, to this place. And I'm like, really? Like, I just, no. And it was snowing. Like, we had 6 inches of snow that night.
Jeez.
And it was falling an inch an hour. So, like, we were all looking out the windows to see, how hard it was going to be to drive home to judge when to leave. Yeah. And these guys are carrying their amps, and I'm just shaking my head like, why? Anyway. So
yeah.
Take over, Jim.
All right. So I'm gonna. So how do I prepare? Well, what I usually do is I'll write down. I'll find out what kind of open mic it is, if it's acoustic or if it's electric, and then just like you, I'll set up something where I can plug direct. And typically, if it's an acoustic gig, I'll put down what songs I want to do, and I'll probably run through them 2 or 3 times. I try to pick songs that I could sing in my sleep and that I can play in my sleep, so that just like you were talking about, I can say, you know what, I can do that, and I can do it for hours without having anybody tell me what to do. If they're electric songs, I might spend a little more time, and only because for me, even though people will go, "Oh, electric song, you can do whatever you want. You can skip solos and blah 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 blah." I like to have electric songs have solos, so I try to organize them so that there is that I've set them up so that I can go into a solo, whether I bring a looper or I ask somebody to just play the chords. Which usually, if you go to an open mic, show somebody's basic. But there are a lot of songs I play that the chords aren't basic, like Sister Golden Hair and stuff like that from America. Sounds basic till you play it, then you find out there's 8 chords on the intro.
Yeah, 8 chords and moving bass lines, and
moving bass line. And the same with Horse with No Name is simple on the chords, but oh my God, there's 2 guitars doing two different voicings, and the bass line is just incredible. And the solo is not as easy as it comes across either. It's a really cool, completely picked, no pull offs or no legato solo. So, anyway, and then I'll get there and I'll talk to whoever is hosting, and try to get myself to where I know somebody. Usually, I'll know somebody, because even if you've been in a local area for a very short time, if you go to enough open mics, you've met everybody.
Oh, and that's funny. That's what's funny, because I was sitting there and I'm like, people I was seeing there, I'm like, I know you from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I do, and I know them all from Good Time, or like from, I've seen them in Good Time. They may not go in there all the time, but like that's how I remember them.
Yep.
I'm in Good Time way too much.
Yeah, you've seen them at a guitar store. You've seen them delivering your pizza. I'm just kidding. So, all right. So the question, I guess, is pretty much answered, and I'll say this: original or covers?
Both.
Yeah, I was going to say. Both.
No, I mean, they were all covers there that night, but I fully intend on going back and doing some originals. It's gonna have to be in the right context, though. A lot of my original music, like if I come up and I have a song called 7/8 song, which is a song that's actually, it's not in 7/8, but you could play it in 7/8. The drum track's in 7/8. It's,
right.
It's not a song that should be performed with people who've never played it before.
Right.
But I fully intend on doing it. Let's see how it goes.
And the danger of the only danger, I say danger like it's a bad thing. The only danger of doing a song not 7/8 in that's written by yourself is you can't really just pull somebody up on stage and say, okay, let's go, unless it's a typical 1/4/5, minor 6 turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically going to have to play like one chorus out of it.
Yep.
Get the bass player to know what you're doing.
Yep.
And then you just go with it. Like, it'll work. But you got to be prepared for that. You have to be able to carry that tune by yourself for an entire verse chorus, cycle.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then your bridge better be the same chords, but maybe in a different feel or something, because you're just going to have to to work it out that way.
Yep.
These guys are cool enough. I could probably I know both hosts on Facebook now. They're both connected to Good Time in a various way. I could probably just send them a copy of the song and be like, I want to play this, just listen to it once so we know what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing. If you know the people, you can share a chart and do a quick run over the song.
There were people there with they were set up chairs for music stands and putting chord charts up there for everybody.
Yeah,
so I mean that's fine.
And there's nothing
it's
wrong.
The time signature that's a bigger problem than anything in 4/4 is doable. Anything outside of 4/4
gets a little tricky.
With 3/4 or something like that, but it's going to get really difficult once you get into those really odd time signatures.
That's right. So now I want to talk about the difference between a jam and an open mic.
Yes.
And they are very different. For people who don't know what a jam is, they used to be a lot more popular. I used to go to a jam at a place called the Jewish Mother in Virginia Beach. It was fantastic in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't think jams are as good for the audience.
No, but for the musicians.
No, I know, but I think the clubs are hoping that they're going to attract actual audience people to come and watch at an open mic. Whereas for the jam night, it's just musicians. I mean,
a jam is just for musicians. And typically you meet your really high-end people at jam.
Yeah.
Because an open mic, it can be, one person will be incredible and the next person will suck pond water through his ass. I mean, it's just the two ends of the spectrum. There'll be someone who's got an angelic voice and someone who sounds like Kermit the Frog after a binge.
I was pretty impressed with all the people I saw, but I mean,
I
have been to open mics where people like get up on stage with their guitar out of tune and they're like just going for it,
and they don't even know.
They're blissfully unaware. I've been that guy too, so
they're blissfully unaware that their guitar is out of tune and that they can't sing, and they sound like I said, like Kermit the Frog on a bad day. So anyway. And at an open mic, you're always rolling dice. Some nights, like you said, that was a good one. You had some stellar people. I'll tell you though, now open mics, it's different in different areas. You go to an open mic in Nashville, you're going to see some people that just I'm not even going.
They will obliterate you.
I will. Yeah, they will torch everything that you do as a musician. And I would be the first one to go, yeah, that's okay. I'm not playing. I mean, those are people.
I don't mind playing, and not being the caliber of player of everybody else. Because I think the expectations in open mic is like, it's not a real show. It's a place for people to come and kind of showcase what they do, but not necessarily to provide real entertainment.
Right. Correct. So. And so I've got to say that and now I'm the kind of person that I can get on stage and jam out and really get things going. You were talking about nerves. If you tell me though, hey, so-and-so right there, they used to play for whatever band or, real popular band, real good band. I suddenly all my nerves kick in. I go, I forgot how to play the guitar. I don't know why. So I just tell people, if you know somebody in a crowd, just don't tell me it's okay that they're good musicians. Just don't tell me. That way I don't know, and I'm okay with it. It's just like when you turn the microphone on, you go, some people can't record. It's the same thing. So anyway, one of the things that people use open mics for. So open mics have a lot of different purposes. One obviously is to get the bar a little more full on a Tuesday night or the little coffee house or club or whatever. Get more people on your Tuesday night. A lot of people are hoping to get a gig. And I want to go to this part of it out of an open mic. So what is the standard protocol? What is the way you should act when you walk into an open mic, especially if you expect to be a paid musician? What are some of the things you want to do, David?
Sorry, I'm really distracted, but
that's okay. If you were to walk into an open mic and you were thinking, you know what, I'd like this place to hire me,
bring you back in.
Right.
I would pick the 3 songs that I feel are the strongest in my repertoire. I'd look for one that's slow. I'd look for 2 that are reasonably paced. I'd put the one that I'm best at third. I'd put the one that I feel confident about in front, and then the slow one in the middle to show dynamics and try to showcase. Because normally it's a 3-song set.
Right.
You might get 5. You
might get a 5.
Do it the right way, but 3-song set, just go for it. Pick solid songs. Make sure you have vocals. and try to bring the band that's actually going to be playing them.
Yep.
Like, don't show up and expect the host to handle drums or something.
Right.
So that you come in for the and then let the bartender know afterwards. Go up, drop them off a card, say, hey, we came out to play the open mic tonight. We really like the club. Like, we'd like to come back and play a regular show. Here's our card. Call us here.
Right. So I'm going to put a couple more. As a matter of fact, David, as far as handling the show part, your showcase, that's exactly what you should do. It should be the musicians that are going to do it, not somebody standing in. Oh, our bass player's at home, or our drummer's at home, or our singer couldn't make it, got the flu, and then, hey, you want to hire us? Oh yeah, sure. We didn't even hear what you sound like.
Always come in professional.
That's right.
Obviously, bring your A game, including your equipment. Don't bring that shitty Squire with the broken low E because you're going to play Rolling Stones tunes. Like, bring in a reasonable guitar that sounds good.
So all that stuff is perfect. The other thing is, remember, the second you walk in, you're making your first impression.
Yeah, be very nice, cordial, say hello to everybody.
That's right. Be nice. Tip.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if you get water, tip. Even if it's
and make sure you get something while you're there.
That's right.
Like, I felt bad the other night because we didn't get anything. We were all sick. Went to Taco Bell for awful.
Yeah,
but I would have
got leftovers.
I usually buy food because I don't drink, so I buy food.
Right.
But
that's what happens. I usually
I'll make sure I'll buy a beer and leave it if I have to, because it's really about making sure the bar.
Exactly. It's about the people. I mean, you can buy a shot and leave it, because a shot's $2 or whatever. Get a well drink, and
I'd rather just give them $2 on the bar and be like, here's tip for having them open.
And that's exactly what I would do. I would drink water, and then I'd tip them with $2 or $3, just to say that, hey, I appreciate you. Dress the way you're gonna dress.
Yes. That's another big thing. Like, don't show up looking like you just mowed somebody's lawn. Unless you're Paul Schaefer in the CBS Orchestra.
Yeah, you're all sweating. You look like
that was an old joke, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. And have you seen Paul Schaefer lately? He's still looking good. He
looks pretty good for his age.
He's got to be. He's 70. I remember him in This Is Spinal Tap. You want to kick my ass? Go ahead, kick my ass right now. That was a great scene. So the other thing is that just make sure that you remember that everything you do while you're there, don't be pushy. You want to make sure that if you have a press pack, bring it. Don't just hand it off to the waitress. It'll never get to anybody.
Yeah. Because then it'll just end up in her car or in the garbage.
Exactly. You've got a press pack that you want to hand off. Make sure it goes to the person that does the booking. It's difficult. I'll tell you that most clubs, it's tough.
Most clubs, they have a phantom bookie now anyway.
Yep.
They're never there. Like, I know a lot of clubs here use agencies.
Yep.
Doing the pay to play thing.
That's right.
Which is really crappy. So
down here,
it's serve to do that. I mean,
down here it's agencies, and you're giving up a piece of your income. Just how it is.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if you want the big gigs. All right, so that's good for open mics, I think. Let's talk about guilty pleasure gear. What is the piece of gear that you have that you will not get rid of? It is a guilty pleasure. You know it's just a piece of crap. You should get rid of it, but you still
I have several
guilty pleasure.
Give me
your guilty pleasure.
Well, I got the red unicorn.
Right.
I have, and I don't want to say piece of crap. I would say guilty pleasure for me is like something I own that I don't use out. I really don't have any use for it, but I like it too much to get rid of it. I got a lot of stuff like that. Really, right now, I'm playing my two S500s 95% of the time. The other 5% of the time is my SG. I have that Ibanez turd that I never touch. The red unicorn is hanging in the wall as an ornament with really good pickups in it, no less.
You will find a reason. You will be.
Oh no, that thing I'll be using for rhythm. I plan on using that for rhythm tracks, but I have my Mark V right now. It's collecting dust. I don't use it in my condo. I don't play out. So it's not going anywhere. It's still my primary amp, but I can't push it hard enough to actually like get good sound out of it. So it just sits.
You get the right gig, you're gonna go, oh man, I wish I had
No, I am not selling that thing. Let's make it very clear. That's sticking around. That's one of those amps that like I've been wanting a Mark II C Plus probably the entire time I've played guitar. And when I finally realized that they had the Mark II C Plus mode in the Mark V 25, and that like John Petrucci did that demo video where he showed like what it can sound like, I went, I'm gonna go get one of those. Because that was like very much one of those tones that's always been in my head and I always wanted. So now I have it. Not going anywhere because at some point I'm going to want to dig it out. But other things I've had, I mean, I have had to come to Jesus with myself several times. It's like, look, you really love this piece of gear, but you don't. And you're not going to miss it. Like when it's gone, you're not going to be like, oh, I really wish I still had that thing. Yeah. And none of it that I've sold like that have I ever looked back and been like, man, I wish I had kept that. So
I have a Zoom pedal from the 90s when Zoom really started. Like they had those
the analog pedals they did.
Expensive, the
multi-effects.
Multi-effects is inexpensive multi-effects.
The 505 series, and
it predates that.
Well, the 505-1 was the first multi-effects guitar.
Yeah, it might be the one.
I have had one in my possession for a while, and it's
it's a dog. It's terrible. It doesn't sound good in anything.
And you still use that thing, right?
But it was a gift. No, it was a gift, and I won't sell it.
I thought I was the first person to give you a guitar-related gift, but at Christmas.
You are. No, a Christmas gift, birthday gift, or anything like that. Yeah. This person just they gave it to me because they were throwing it out.
Oh, cool. Wonderful! Like, that's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah,
here, take my garbage.
But he passed away, and it's just like
sentimental at that point.
Yeah, it's sentimental value thing. He was his name was Rudy, and he was an incredible guitar player. He was a guy I told you the Digitech. You were talking about the Digitech. He played through a Digitech RP pedal. And it wasn't even a GN; it was RP, and he could pull off like into a Blues Junior, a 1990s something Blues Junior with an old RP, and he made that thing sound killer. He was the kind of person that could dial.
I had the RP. I liked it. I thought you could do some cool stuff. I just thought all the amp models that it sounded the same.
Oh yeah, they were, but he was pushing a Blues Junior. And I think he was one of those guys, you can pull a tube. I don't know if the Junior has two tubes, but he was one of those guys that he would pull, stuff out of his yin yang to push the amp.
Yeah.
Even though I don't remember what it was that he did for a mod. I know some people, it's not
solid state tubes in it because you can get those. They had those where you could put it was a solid state tube that you could put in there. It was supposed to be for reliability, but it would make the amp respond differently. That was a really popular thing to do.
Yeah, he would push that thing. He was loud. I'll tell you right now. He passed away. So anyway, I've got that. Just because, like I said, he was like, "Oh, I don't use this anymore. You want it? Sure." And it had no value then. It's probably worth $5 now.
I saw a pawn shop sticker that said $20 on the one I had in my.
Really? Oh well, then maybe I should sell it. No, I'm just kidding. So that's one of the things. You've seen my blue. I have a Bentley acoustic guitar. That thing has been literally halfway around the world. I played it in Greece. I played it in Turkey. I played it in Germany. I played it in Italy. I played it all over the world. Every coffee house and place that would let me play for free food or money, I played. I dropped it. I was on a ship.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
I dropped it. It's broken, literally, but it still plays. It still plays fine. It's an acoustic electric. In other words, it's got a pickup. I want to get a new pickup system in it. I don't want to do anything great because it's never going to sound fantastic. It's not a Taylor. It's not even a freaking Epiphone. It's only this thick. I don't know. People can't see me, but it's only like 2 inches deep. Inch and a half maybe. on the actual inside hollow part. It's got America signed it for me. It was a gift to myself from me to me for starting to do this. I was an open mic night host, and I hosted an open mic for like 5 years. And so when I was in port, I was the host of the open mic. It was me and another guy I was on ship with for the longest time. Then it was me alone when I went to shore duty, and then went to another ship. And it's been with me ever since. So I've had it since 1986 or 85. And I won't sell it. I wanted Ovation. At the time, I was that guy. I was like, oh, that guy's got a better guitar than me. I am so glad I didn't buy an Ovation, because I now have an Ovation. You can see it right here.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. I gigged that Jasmine.
Why were the Ovations so damn popular? Because I remember there was a time when they were super popular.
Because Glenn Campbell and Nancy Wilson from Heart played Ovation.
That why?
And I think it was because they shoved them down their throats. A lot of people say that was why Rickenbacker became popular in the 60s, because they would just give them to the English musicians.
I've heard that, but I've also heard like the Beatles went in and actually purchased some. The black frying pan model that George Harrison had was purchased, for example. Yeah. But I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you got to remember at that time, like, there weren't very many electric guitars around.
No.
And Rickenbacker was one of the big three. It was them, Gibson, and Fender. That was it. Nobody was playing T-Scos live. Like,
nope.
Nope.
So. And so I think Danelectro was the only other one that was being used, and that was later by.
And even those
and everybody that talks crap about
kit guitars, like, people didn't like them. They were cheap, and
they were still shit guitars. It's just that they were okay as a slide guitar, because you could have the action.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Page used one not as a slide guitar, but my point is that, like, they were seen as a beginner instrument.
Yes,
and so people avoided them.
Yeah. I still see them like a beginner.
I've played a couple that I really liked.
And in the States, you didn't have it, but Benson was around. Was it Benson or?
Yeah. Well, Benson, yeah, right. We didn't have.
They made guitars over there overseas. That's what the red guitar that Queen built was based. So, all right.
Oh, I thought that was Burns.
Burns, that's it. Burns. Benson is the effects pedal. Burns is the guitar company.
I seem to remember Benson having their name attached to a guitar.
I don't know. I remember. Yeah, that was Burns. As a matter of fact, yeah, he wound his own.
He had the Burns Trisonic pickups in it. I don't know if there was a Burns model that it's supposed to emulate, but because he was really into the Stratocaster, he wanted to build a Stratocaster. Realized he couldn't do it.
Yep. Which I find hard to believe.
Well, it had to do with the trem.
Oh yeah, that's right. He engineered that trem.
Yep.
Okay, so all right, going right along with that though, is there a brand that you would look at and you would just say, I would never buy that brand?
All right. So you listeners of the show, you've heard me say things about certain companies, JHS, Friedman, and various others. My opposition to those companies is purely personal. I don't like something that's going on with the company. It's not necessarily that I don't like the company itself. I have said things about other companies like Kiesel, and I'm sure there are other guitar companies that I've just gone down on. And really, I mean, if it was the right thing, yes, I would buy it. JHS. Let's talk about JHS, because they're the ones that are the easiest to pick on. I cannot stand the JHS business model. And if you're not inclined, the JHS business model is to, let's talk about this. I've got the Angry Driver in my hand. They've got their name on this Boss collaboration pedal. Yep. It's the first collaboration from Boss. And it inside has an Angry Driver.
Yeah.
What do you think the Angry Driver is? What do you think the Angry Driver is? Is it their, not the Angry Charlie? Do you think it's their proprietary circuit that they came up with to sound like a Marshall?
Yeah.
No, it's a MI Crunch Lab, Super Crunch Lab, I believe. So if you stop and you scratch your head a little bit and you start digging around, every single pedal they put out is either in the public domain or it's a design that they knocked off from somebody else. And a lot of times from people I've talked to, it's not a design they knocked off and changed. It's verbatim the same pedal. And they have gotten in trouble for it repeatedly. But the thing is, circuits aren't copyrightable the same way as, like, say, a book.
Yep.
So he can get away with it.
That's right.
And it's just a nightmare. I don't know, man. I think the reason why I shy away from JHS is they don't do enough stuff that's, like, unique. And that is just a whole other thing unto itself. Look, I'm not going around and I'm buying everybody's Tube Screamer clone. Never going to happen. I have one Tube Screamer right now, and I have not played it in, like, months. It's in the box. I'm supposed to be sending it to Jim. And the point is that it has to be purpose built for a specific thing. I don't think, like, going to the store and saying, "Oh, there's this new Blues Driver clone. I really got to have that." It's just mind-boggling to me. Like,
well, yeah, that's why I got to get that Wampler Blues Driver to you now, because now you can side by side with that Angry Driver.
So I've got a DS1 that had the quote unquote Keeley mod.
Oh, yeah.
First off, I don't think they did the Keeley mod to it. But second off, it has been modified. Like, I've seen the inside of the pedal, and there's a switch on it, and it does do things. But it just doesn't. It does not enhance the sound of the pedal. Let's put it that way. And I really feel like if I would have to get a real one, but even with this pedal being modified, I just don't think it's any better than the stock one.
Yeah.
And so I found that with a lot of these clone pedals that they're not any better than the stock unit.
Well, I can tell you that the Blues Driver, because I had the Blues Driver, obviously, and then I sent it to Wampler. I got it back a few months later, maybe 2 months later. And when I did, it's a different pedal. It is a completely different pedal. That I can say with 100%. So I can tell you that when it comes to stuff that I poo-poo, first of all, I will not play a fake Gibson. If you want to give me a fake Gibson that says, like, Chuck on it, that's fine.
Well, I think
it's Chuck on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have my issues with counterfeit goods.
Right.
I mean, that's basically the same thing as when I look at JHS, except that JHS wants to charge twice what they're worth.
Yeah, well, yeah. I agree with you there, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're gonna create this is my problem, and I'm not knocking Analog Mike, because he does a completely different thing, by the way. You're gonna create a Tube Screamer clone. You can say, I've got a Tube Screamer clone, and I changed the circuit so that it suddenly makes breakfast and cleans the dogs.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, but why am I giving you, if I can buy a Tube Screamer for $150, why am I giving you?
Why would I buy the clone? Unless it's like the bee's knees total redesign thing. Like,
right.
So I watched there's a couple of videos out right now with the guy that does Way Huge. George Trips.
Yep.
And he's been doing the press circuit because they got some new pedals coming out. And Trips had an interesting observation. He said, when I started making these Tube Screamer clones in the beginning, I didn't want them to be I'm trying to think of the right word. I didn't want them to be, that different. I wanted them to be a Tube Screamer, but then he made it a Tube Screamer with true bypass. He took the buffer circuit out. Like, that I get, because that's a whole nother thing. Nobody
It
had done
is.
a tube screamer with true bypass, at least not
Right.
in the saleable market.
Right.
And so that I get, but like because that's a major modification to that pedal. But
Right. Right.
to have somebody be like, "Oh, I changed a couple of resistors and a couple of capacitors," like what?
Yeah.
Okay, you improve the tone somewhat, you know, um, but it's not really the same thing at all as saying that it's a different pedal.
Right.
Um, and I get it. You know, some people are just all about little tiny incremental changes.
Yeah.
And some people collect. I know people who have 5 or 6 different tube screamers.
Yeah.
And they're all from different manufacturers. And they all do different things. But like JHS, the problem I have is a lot of the time there's this like, oh, we'll take this pedal, we'll make a clone of it, and then we'll make it surface mount, and we're going to charge the original pedal's only $95, but we're going to charge $200 for ours, and we're going to put it in a different box.
Right.
It's
And suddenly,
absolutely insane.
yeah, look at how much better ours is. And no, and that's the only thing. I mean, I'm not knocking JHS. I don't know how much work they put into it, but eventually the R&D gets paid for, and the pedal should come down in price, not stay.
But that's the thing. Like, what? So when I buy, if I go to a Barber Electronics, right, and I buy their fuzz, which is a triangle muff clone, their triangle muff clone is by hand. Okay.
Yep.
Surface mount implies not made by hand.
Right.
That means populated board with a machine.
Yep.
Seal it, put it in a case, and send it out.
That's not made by hand.
No, not in the same way at all. There's so much more labor involved with somebody actually doing all the hand soldering in a Barber pedal than something JHS puts out. But JHS still wants to charge $190.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's because they have so much clout because they're a member of the boutique world, which they stopped being boutique a long time ago. It just drives me nuts. And then you got Wampler, right? He prices his pedals pretty much the same way, except his stuff is hand soldered in a lot of cases. Right. I haven't taken apart too many of their pedals, but I know that they do a lot of hand construction over there. I know they do. They are ordering. I think their true bypass board, the relay, I think is ordered out.
I know there's a couple of things that Brian Wampler puts money into, and that's the R&D side of it, and also the customer service side of things.
Sure.
He is way into that.
I just don't see his profit margin being what JHS's is.
No, he's been being pushed and pushed and pushed. He finally had to bring the price up on his pedals, but it's all because of the stuff that gets in. But his isn't. He's not going, okay, you know what? I got a circuit. Let's go out to Chinese place A. You press my boards, we'll send them back here, and then I'm going to put them into my pedals. He's doing that still in from what I understand, doing that still in Indiana. All I know is that there are so many electronic devices. Let's look at DVD players, look at Blu-ray players, look at everything else. The R&D gets paid for by the early adopters, and they pay a shitload of money for it, and then the prices start to come into a reasonable amount. I still don't know why a lot of pedals haven't moved towards that 200 and under mark, or somewhere in $200 or under.
I just don't get how much R&D there is in a pedal that is 90% complete before they even touch it.
Exactly, in a quote unquote clone. And we took we have an Ibanez tube screamer clone. We have. We made this pedal so much better by throwing a capacitor in there.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I get living wage and all that. We know that Boss, if I look at my Boss pedal right here, it says made in Taiwan on the back of it. And I understand that those countries have cheaper labor than us, and they can do that, and they can charge. I think this pedal was $200. Yeah. I get it. They could do that with this. If it's made in the States, that's a whole other thing, because obviously stateside labor is different, and there is labor still involved in surface mount, but surface mount is by and large taking out most of the labor from it. So
right. Okay, so the next thing, let's talk about. We talked about the open mic. I'm going to save my 0.5 for later. All right, let's talk about. Well, actually, you know what? We're talking about gear. like I said, the pickups are in the Ibanez. Looking forward to it. John, who happens to be listening in, so he's muted right now. He asked us about the Katana, what we thought about the top mounted effects, and I'm just gonna give a hand signal. The top mounted effects.
He's saying they're number one, folks.
They are number one with me.
Yeah,
exactly, John. And that's the thing. To me, you can't see it. It's actually right behind me.
It was lazy.
The very top of it, right there. You can see the very top of it. You can actually see the controls. I had it up. There's a my Hughes and Kettner's over here. My
we got to get to video episodes. Everybody's like, they want to.
Exactly. We're gonna have a group discussion again here soon.
Yeah.
For me, the Katana, it was actually up a little higher. It was actually about this level right here, which is this white thing underneath the guitars. And I couldn't control the damn thing. And of course, again, you get to that freaking the pedal board. Really, all the board does is let me change the channels.
Yeah, one of the 4 buttons on the back of it,
It's like, okay, here's the 4 buttons. But I still have to go in there and I have to dial it in, which means going into my computer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dial this one in. Let's dial this one in. Let's dial this one in. And I've got direct access to 4. You have indirect access to 8.
Yes, correct.
But you have direct access to 4. And that's still, that's a pet peeve with me.
You guys are going to really laugh because I'm going to blow your minds when we talk about this. It's going to be really bad.
So I can hook up my Marshall 2-channel to it. Two-channel switcher to it, or I can hook up the TC Electronic G system I've got here. Yeah. I can hook that up to it and also do the 2-channel switching and do the 4-channel switching with the GAFC because of course they came up with some proprietary thing you can only do with that. It's $120 and even used they're over $100. I mean, and they're very seldom listed anywhere. eBay, you name it. Which I'm surprised there's no Chinese knockoffs. I'm surprised nobody from another company has gone in and said, you know what, I can do this and done it with a knockoff. Anyway, when it comes to amplifiers with the top mounted controls, Mesa does it right. Mesa puts it right in the front. Boogie does it. So
lots of companies do it right. So this is why this happens, right? The Katana head is the same way. Controls are on the back. I think if you do that on a head, you ought to be slapped. Okay?
Yeah.
Because in reality, all they have to do, flip it over, put it in the right place, and I'm not even if you do it and you think about the geometry, a lot of times you don't even have to change where the nameplate is at on the damn head.
What about that 6-inch speaker, though? Honestly, on that thing, that is the 6-inch speaker.
Yeah, that's probably why they did it on the Katana head. To be honest with you, because if you see the artists, they obviously put the controls in the front, right?
Yep,
which makes sense.
Yep.
But here's the thing: on a combo amp, if it's sitting on the floor, which I know you guys stands, 99% of the people who are buying these things don't have stands.
That's right.
Okay? It's not a terrible design. It's not forward thinking, but it's not terrible.
Right.
I think it still would be better if they put it in the front. But at the same time, like I get what they're thinking is that most people will probably be standing over it.
I think
you'd have to crouch down to get in front of it to see it on the stage.
You come back to the whole sorry, my back itches here. That's why the whole question of who is this targeted for? Why didn't they include a foot switch? Well, because really these are not. Although I'm going to say this, the 50, I'll say that the 50 and under, yes, don't need to include a foot switch. You don't need all that stuff. The top mounted stuff is fine.
Yeah.
When you're saying you can gig with this, then you're telling me that I should be able to put that behind me and I should be able to control it. But I've got to add another $100 pedal, $120 pedal.
So that depends on. See, that's the thing. Like I come down on both sides of that argument too, because I get what you're saying, Jim. Yes, I bought a 4-channel amp and I should have access to all 4 channels live.
Yes.
And I totally understand where you're coming from. I think if they put a 2-channel foot switch in the box, That would be fine. As long as they tell you, if you want to have access to all 4 channels, then you're going to have to upgrade to the GAFC for, $120. That I get.
Don't get me wrong.
There's no foot switch in the box, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
Again, the GAFC is not just for that, and it at $120. Come on, it's a 4-button foot switch. You cannot tell me there's $120 worth of freaking electronics in there.
It would be really.
It doesn't make coffee, and I have never seen it order donuts for me. Yeah, $50, John, is exactly what I'm thinking.
Well, but what I do find really funny about the GAFC is that this amp has more modeling capability under the hood than the old Line 6 Flextone series did.
Yep.
And you had to use the FBV shortboard with the Flextone.
I know. And the Flextones weren't cheap either. They were in the $500
but you had 99 patches in those things. You could flip through it and page through everything. You could have every song that you wanted in your set list.
Yep.
Right there, ready to go.
That's right.
4 tones, like a real amp.
Yep.
But completely neutered in a way. And that's why I'm like, I just don't understand that part of it.
I don't either.
At this point, they should just let the cat out of the bag and be like, all right, look, we're going to give you a new foot switch that has banks.
Yep.
And you have 99 presets.
Pull up as many of them as you want.
Now, they may not be able to do that in the current edition. Maybe Katana 2.
I'll tell you why they should be able to. If the pedal board was the price of like an FBV, which is what, $200 and something?
The FBU is more than that.
Yeah, $300 something.
$79.
How much? Almost $400, right?
No, $279.
There's
the
intelligence.
One was $350. Yeah.
Yeah. There's intelligence in there. So what you could do, because there's not a whole lot of brain behind the software.
If it's connected via a stereo cable, there's nothing going on in that thing.
That's right. You could put the patches in the pedal. And now all you got to do is get the pedal to 9 volts. Any freaking idiot that's got a pedal board has got 9 volts. You put 9 volts to that pedal board, and then you put the memory and the data in there, because all it's got to do is hold the patch. The computer can upload the patches to that. And then
I don't know. I'm not going to.
I don't think I don't.
How that thing's laid out inside. I'm not going to pretend like I know how that thing's laid out inside. There may not be any memory to store patches, just like the G1000 only has space for 10 impulse responses.
And, that's exactly what I was going to say. The current one, there's no way the GAFC is holding that. I'm talking about if you said, okay, pay us $200, we'll put a cheap little 2K, because you don't need a lot of memory.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't know that it can communicate like that, because it's only a stereo cable into the amp. I'm not going to pretend that foot switch can have any intelligence on it. I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's completely up to them. But I just think
you could come out with one that could go to the USB port.
Yeah, I mean that is doable.
That's right. And then if you wanted to, you could have power over PoE, and then boom. Yeah.
So
or you can do the 9-volt power. Either way, you can get power to it. You can USB to it, and you can talk to the amp.
Technically, right now you can go and get a USB to MIDI converter for that device. There's a company that makes them for Boss products, and you could just send MIDI signals right into the existing one.
Yeah.
So program your patches all as MIDI and rock and roll.
And you can't tell me it can't be done.
No,
anyway. Yeah, I'm just saying that for what you're getting for $120, you got a dumb 4-channel switch.
Yeah, it's abysmal. But the thing is, they're not charging for the switch; they're charging with the features that the switch provides. That's the way they're perceived.
There is something else that switch does that leads me to believe that it's more than just
tap tempo.
It does tap tempo, but hold on, it does volume control and it does wah.
Yeah, which are just extra jacks on it for expression control, which probably means it's just passing voltage back to the brain.
Passing voltage back.
The thing is, remember this. That unit that you have, the Katana, is just a GT100. That's all it is.
I know.
Except without memory. Because that's why I've heard is like they didn't put any memory on.
Which is why you can only load so many things to it at a time. Which all makes sense. But if you said to me, you know what, you could expand that memory by buying this, just like Blue does, Blue Guitar, Thomas Blug. You know, he says, hey, you know what? Yeah, that thing's pretty basic, but if you get this pedal board, that costs $250.
Frankly, if I was Boss, I would discontinue the current Katanas. I would come out with a Katana 2 the next year. As things progress, when they run out of stock of the old one.
Yep.
The Katana 2 comes in, and it's got to be head and shoulders above the GT1. That's the problem I have with the Katana is I can go buy a GT1, which is essentially a GT100 in a little tiny package.
Yep.
And I don't get an amplifier with that. But for like $200, I get the foot controller and everything else included. Buy whatever amp I want and use it as a clean pedal platform as long as it's got an effects loop.
And guess what? The Katana, yeah. So, all right. So let's. John asked another question. He asked about putting an external speaker on the Katana. By the way, John, there's a YouTuber that put up a
it can be
because
done.
the artist. By the way, it's very easy. The artist. One of the selling points of the artist is you get a Wazacraft speaker, and so you can either replace the speaker, which is what you could do, or if you wanted, you could put an optional speaker out. Now, what you would have to do, though, you would have to make it so that you disconnect the speaker that's in it. You effectively turn it into a head, and all you do is you put. I mean, the guy went through it. He stepped through it. I don't know. It's not rocket science. You take the jacks off the speaker. You run them into a speaker box, and then you put the thing. And now you put from the speaker, you put an 1/8" cord into the speaker jack. But now when you want to use another speaker, you just pop yours out, put a 16 ohm load on it. As long as you're putting a 16 or more load on it, that's the key. I was looking at daisy chaining my 2x12s as they stand. I can't because their outputs are parallel, not serial. So it would actually turn it into lower than 8 ohms, and I wouldn't be able to run speakers.
So, quick question.
Oh no, I was talking about the amp one.
No, I know. We'll go back to the Katana and just the faceplate position because I think that's a bigger issue here, like where the controls out sit, right? So the layout on the back, right, comes from old like vintage Fender amps and even stuff that predates that.
Yeah, because why wouldn't they be at least put them in the front?
Well, it's annoying because you have to bend down, right? Like, and to get
no, I mean you gotta reach over it.
Yeah, because you guys are putting on a stand, which is a whole other thing.
No,
like
I mean, put them in the front on top.
That not a lot of people do. Huh?
Put them on top. Put them on the front.
Well, yeah, no, and I completely agree. Like that would be the optimal way to lay out any amplifier, and I totally agree with that. I'm just saying, like, I know why they did it, and now if I back up and say, what other piece of gear are really freaking ridiculously uncomfortable to use?
Fenders.
No. Pedals. You have to fucking bend over to adjust every single goddamn pedal you own. Now, here's the fun part. Buy a Helix. Buy a Helix.
You never have to bend over again.
No, you bend over all goddamn day long. Unless you hook it up to your computer.
What about, can't you hook it up to an iPad? I thought you could hook it up to an iPad.
No, there is no iPad.
Oh my God. Come on.
No.
I'm for a piano stand.
Well, that's what a lot of people are doing. Yeah. Well, why the fuck should I buy a stand for a modeler? So I honestly, my controls will never break on this thing because I don't use them. Plugs right into my computer. I do all my dialing in on my computer. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, I get it. I understand. But
that's how I control the Katana.
A Bluetooth adapter for a device to put inside internally is pennies on the dollar. There was no excuse from either. Now, Boss put one in theirs. The GT1000 has Bluetooth, and you can have an app on your phone. You can walk around. You can dial in for your phone.
The Mustang GT did it. The Marshall Code did it.
And there are other products.
Yeah, I was going to say Line 6 did it in the freaking Spider. Come on.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, so there is another school of thought on this, and that is, well, they didn't want to do something that was going to make it eventually, so Bluetooth could conceivably be replaced by some other piece of technology on down the road, and they didn't want it to be tied to. But then they put a USB port on it, and you plug it into your computer. So I mean, it's just asinine. None of it makes sense. I program mine strictly through the computer. My Katana I use it the same way. It just, if I have to bend down to grab it, I'm a big guy. I don't like bending over. It's a pain in the ass. I don't like to tie my fucking shoes. I do. No, I was tying my shoe the other day, and I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. Where's my inhaler? Like, what the hell?
It's the breathing while you're.
Yeah, it's like just inhale. Come on, you can do it. You're trying to time as fast as you can too. It's funny.
What I did, I gotta be honest with you. So when it comes to the Boss, I put it. What I did was I had a nightstand, and it was one of those ones that's got the legs, and then it's got like a shelf unit in it.
Sure.
And put stuff in it. So I took the shelf part off, so that it would be shorter, and so I could make it easier. Like I said, it's right there. And the shelf, I'll have to share a picture of this I showed a picture of you with you. I just took the shelf off and then sat it down on what would be the quote unquote legs, but they're not legs. They were the
Can we talk about
shelf, and it's on the floor that way. That's how it's sitting right now. So it's like this far off the floor, about 10 or 8 inches maybe off the floor.
So since we're talking about the stupid stuff on the katana, right?
Yeah, let's talk about more dumb stuff on it.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're getting there. Because you requested it, John. So we're going to get there. That thing's cool, by the way. I like the graphic and all that. Backing up, katana, back mounted controls, rear mounted top controls.
And then they put
the post in the front to lead it back. What
to get them even further away. Hey, you know what? It's not
yes, I know I made a comment about the fact that not everybody uses stands and they're not anticipating that. But at the same time, it's like you put the little post in the front, so you're going to lean the hip further away from you. Like, what? What? Plus, that post is absolutely useless. Oh, it reduces the acoustic coupling for recording. Who's going to mic this thing up? Who's miking up a katana and using it in the studio?
I'm going to mic it up to do the demo for that guitar. I'm going to mic that.
But demoing is one thing, but Jim.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm not miking it. If I'm miking it in a club, I don't care about the acoustic coupling. I'm still going to leave it on the ground.
Yeah, what the hell? So then they put this little thing on there. It's basically useless because it doesn't point it up high enough to look at. I want them to just put Fender kickstands on it. When it comes out with two, just put a metal thing that comes down out of the back.
Yep.
Has a bar across and leans it straight up. And then really they need to go to a real semi-open back for the combos. So that you can open the back up if you want it open back, or you can close it up.
Or you can close it
back. They do it on the cab. It's the best feature on the cab.
Yep. I agree. John recommended that what they do is put they should have a flip up controller. Like, okay, if I've got it tilted back, the top flips up so I can use it. I mean, what is the top? It's all digital. There's nothing but probably Cat 5 behind or Cat 6. And it's not like, it's got a lot of stuff to it, or that it would be all that difficult. I do know, having lived and breathed manufacturing, I do know money-wise, every penny. And I don't know what the sales figures on the katana, but it's got to be astronomical. The big thing that everybody, let's face it, when it came out, what was it up against? It was up against the Marshall Code, and it was up against the Mustang at the time, the Mustang 2, right? Or 3.
Yeah, I think the Mustang GT2 came out right after.
Right after. But it was up against the Mustang series before the GT, which, let's face it, the GT is a bomb.
Yeah.
But the Mustang before that wasn't as bad. But anyway, so here's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be easy. It was supposed to be simple.
Yep.
Here's an amp. Why didn't you give me the ability to make it even simpler instead of making it difficult? And putting all this this stuff. You know what I mean? And okay, because people hacked it. They said, oh, look at that. There are a lot more effects in there that you thought. And so they had to go, oh yeah, you're right. We did. And so then they had to release the software releases 2 and 3 that have given you access to things like the wah pedal and like there's there's a few more choruses or something that they added to the newest release. So and reverb, I think, another reverb that they put in there. It's a great amp, but it really is. It's not a modeler, and that's the thing that people are like, oh, that's a modeler. It's not really a modeler. It is a guitar amplifier with a bunch of effects built in. A modeler does IR, and this thing is not doing IR at the it does on the output, the direct out.
See, I don't think that's really accurate. I think it absolutely is a modeler. However, it is set up so that the 4 models in it showcase what the thing can do, and those should be all you need. Right. And I look, the vast majority of your recorded guitar tones are done with 4 amps. You've got your blackface Fender, you've got your Marshall, you've got your maybe a late model Marshall and or Boogie, right? Yep. Your higher gain vintagey thing, and then you have your modern high gain amp, like a 6505 or 5150.
Or a triple rectifier.
Those 4 categories make up the vast majority of recorded electric guitar, with Vox kind of in that 5th category, maybe. And so when you think about that, how many models do you need in an amp? If you're going to buy a digital amp that provides you those sounds, and as I said, I don't like to call this thing a modeler because it's a digital amp. That's really what it is. They wanted to take the 4 strongest models that they had in the GT100, they enhanced them, and then they put them into the Katana and said these are the channels on the amp. Like that's the concept. The concept is that this is an amp, right?
Yep.
So, but it's still modeler. Like it's based on modeling technology. It is based on the same thing that went on in the GT100. In fact, the models, I can tell you what ones they are out of the GT100, what they augmented, because there's been a whole discussions about, oh, well, they tweaked this and this and this, and like basically it's this model from the GT100. Right. So I mean, I get it. They've enhanced those things. It's like what Line 6 used to do when they had their modelers, and they would put like the Chemical X channel, which was like basically their version of this other thing. Right. And they're using a digital platform to create something that doesn't exist in the real world. Yep. That's kind of where this is, but it's based on something from the real world that they've enhanced. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Right. Right.
But technically, even most of your like regular modelers, the Kemper, as far as I know, is the only modeler that is modeling like full on impulse response, the whole chain from guitar input on the amp to the speakers on the output. So, for what it's worth, this is different than IR technology. Yeah.
Right.
I'm poking holes in Jim's bubbles as they appear above his head, because that's
but do you know what?
I like to stoke the fires and piss them off.
You're not going to poke the hole in the fact that they're not using a full range speaker They're not using a full range speaker to.
A lot of these modelers are not using a full range speaker either. That's another misnomer. Like the Flextone series, none of those were full range speakers. They were customized guitar drivers. That was never they were not a PA speaker. They didn't have a tweeter or a horn or anything like that going on. Really that started fairly recently. But I mean, go back to the Vox, like the ADVT series, is the same thing. They were using customized guitar drivers to try and be flatter, but not be flat. You know what I mean? Right. So, and honestly, some of those speakers are just terrible. I mean, the Flextone 3 speakers were some of the worst guitar speakers I've ever heard in my life. And they were based on G12 T75s. They were Celestion T75s, and they sounded awful. With no bass response. They just basically cut all the bass. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then they would woof out with any palm mute. It was insane. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's part of what sets this thing apart, is the fact that they chose to like go completely full guitar speaker and not even try to like customize it for flatness or anything like that. They were basically just saying, look, we just want to deliver the power amp preamp experience of a regular amp in a digital format, right to a guitar cabinet and a guitar speaker. And actually the cabinets, I think they put a lot of work into how they constructed those cabinets. I know people have made fun of them because they're like not Baltic birch ply and all that. But in reality, I mean, they don't sound bad for what they are. And they're pretty tough. I mean, I haven't seen one like fail or crack or anything like that. Where I've seen, friggin' PVs cracked before. I've seen the front baffle crack in them. Sorry, I keep just stepping on your toes, Jim.
That's all right. As we'll call it a digital modeler goes, it's all right.
It's an amp. That's what it is. but it's based on an amp based on modeling technology.
Correct.
That's kind of what I was saying. Like, I completely agree with you in the sense that yes, this has a whole different concept. And I hope we see more of it. Next Tone from Boss is the same thing. It's like the same concept. Got a digital platform with a little bit more solid state technology driving it. Yep. I think the gain stages in the Next Tone are actually solid state. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know there is digital in that amp. And I think it's more than just the reverb. But I'm completely okay with it. And again, if you look at that thing, it's clearly the same platform. Like the chassis is the same. The gut shots, the board looks very similar to the Katana. It's just using a different feature set. So, yeah. The Next Tone has the controls on the top as well. He's absolutely correct. John is participating wildly in our conversation tonight.
Yes,
and I love it because this is what we want for Patreon supporters of the show. Participate, come in, watch the show, ask us questions. We're going to try to do it earlier. That's something we're pushing for. So the other thing is, John wanted to share with us. He bought this thing called it's a rear up, which for those uninclined, it is a Klon Centaur clone. They're not expensive. They're $200, and you get to pick a color.
I was looking at that. And now, according to their website, the shop is in Texas.
Yeah.
You can have they build clone stuff. They make no bones about it. Their stuff is clone. But those guitars I've never heard of them before, but they look sweet.
So here's the thing with the Klon. Like I had the Archer Icon. I really liked that pedal.
The Archer is nice.
I had it. I've had it probably a good year. It blew my OCD off my board. It blew my. I had another overdrive. Basically, what I was. I've had so many damn pedals. I don't even remember anymore. And I really liked it. Good Time Music has their clone though, and I forget what they call it. But I put my Icon up against their clone.
Yep.
Oh my God! Like I don't know what they're doing special over there. I know who builds their pedals. He builds for another very, very well-known company. That's got some really cool stuff that they make. And it's really good. If this has those Schottky diodes that are in that, because I talked to the guy that actually makes their pedals, I think it's going to be awesome. Because that's one of the big things is like it uses germanium Schottky diodes, which I don't think are made anymore, which is part of the reason why the KTR exists. But they are mismatched. And they are mismatched to leak like an old germanium transistor does in a fuzz phase, which is part of what makes that pedal magic.
So I'm looking at their stuff. Here's my thing. If you want a great Strat, buy a Strat. If you want a great Tele, buy a Tele. If you're going to put $2,000 into a Telecaster, buy a nice Telecaster. If you're going to put $2,000 into a nice Strat, buy a nice Strat. So, and now I'm not putting down. I'm not poo-pooing. I'm not saying, this sucks or that sucks, because you and I both know I'm interested in the Silver Sky. I'm interested in a lot of things, and you're a G&L guy, and
that's basically a whole copy guitar company.
It's a Strat, yeah. But here's my thing. So this company, Ryra, RYRA, is making. We talked about this earlier tonight. He's making an 808 clone. He's making a muff clone, a muff pie clone, a tri-pie, he's calling it, or tri-muff. And he's making a Fuzz-O-Matic, which obviously is some kind,
Likely fuzz face because of two knob.
yeah, two knob fuzz and volume. So
Now, but
and
they
make a
even say
clock
that is a reinterpretation of a classic. They say that on.
and it says it. I'm not saying, but he says the clone is an exact part for part, meticulously crafted replica.
And the
Now,
funny part about that is, from the people I've talked to that have dissected actual clones or clone pedals, remember, these things were gooped. So you can't even see the damn board in them.
Yep.
Nobody's got it right. From the few people that I've talked to who have actually had one and had it taken apart or have an early one before he started doing that, that very few people have gotten the secret sauce. There are some people out there that have done it. I know somebody who has had access to 4 different clones, and
so
may or may not be somebody that is affiliated with, good time.
And all I can say is that, so I played with a guitar player who had an original clone. It was the old,
right,
and it was back when they were only, I don't know how much they originally cost.
Yeah, they were $270.
Yeah, they weren't as expensive
for until 2003 or 4 or 5. Like they were not even that astronomically.
And I'm gonna tell you right now. So he had one of those huge boards and a controller that was made by, who's that guy that makes Bradshaw. Bradshaw. He had a Bradshaw board. This guy has money. He had at least 10 grand in his board. But you have no idea the stuff he had. Anyway, so he had this clone, which was not really, to me, it wasn't an outstanding pedal. I just didn't see it as an outstanding pedal.
The clone is one of those pedals that people lust for, because if you have the right guitar and the right amp and you use it at the right magic setting, it is godlike. However, 95% of the people I've seen playing clones have none of those things.
Yeah. I'm all right. So tell us about the 50-50, man. John has asked about the 50-50. You got your 50-50.
So it's laying around here somewhere.
No,
actually, I take it back. It's your first. No, because I was reversing it by Brent's before I went to the open mic, and actually it was there. So the 50-50, if you ever play a DoD 250, that's kind of what it is. It's a pair of DoD 250s in the same box, which is like I think Distortion Plus is the same.
Yep. I used to have a DoD 250.
Did you have an original vintage one? Because they're very different than what they were putting out for a while. I think the new one, the one they're doing right now that you can still get, because obviously DoD is going under.
I had an old one. This was probably
like a gray box.
Yeah, this was
okay. The gray boxes are good. All right. The early ones are really, really good. And then there was a period in like the 90s where they'd reissued them or something. They were terrible. I started out, my first 250 was actually the YJM 308, which was nothing like the real 250s. It's all treble. There was no warmth to it at all. I got the chance to play a decent 250, and I'm not sure what year it was, but it was warmer. It may have been modified. And I was like, okay, now I see why people want this pedal. Sold my YJM 308, and I said that someday I'll get a 50-50. Or not 50-50, but I'll get a DoD 250. Well, so a couple of years ago, 60 Cycle announced they were going to start doing 50-50s with Pelican Noise Works building them. And I jumped at the chance because I was like, well, first off, I know Leon from Pelican Noise Works, and the guy's legit. Like, he understands circuits. He's a recording engineer. So he understands how this stuff works. He understands, the kind of frequency ranges and stuff that you need for recording. I'll just wait. I'll get this. So I missed 2 runs of that thing. And then they did the 3rd run, and I was like, all right, I'm all in. I don't care what it's going to cost this point. I'm just going to get one. And I've actually been really, really happy with it. I think the DoD 250 is not a pedal you put in front of an amp to replace the amp's overdrive. It's very much a boost pedal. I've had really good results with it through like Fender amps, which is one of the few drive pedals I've ever found that I like through Fender amps. I do not like tube screamers through Fender amps. I know some people love it. Just the mid hump. I think it's a little
too much.
Well, no, the Fender sound is a scoop mid thing, but I think it's unnatural. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like
Understand.
if it made the amp sound like a Marshall, I'd be like, okay, I get it. Like they put enough mid range in there, but it doesn't really do that, and so I kind of feel like it's it does something unnatural. Maybe it's flat. Maybe it's not.
It removes. That's what I was going to say. It kind of removes the character of the amp.
Well,
and it turns it into like
technically, if you ever looked at a Marshall frequency response curve, like that people have generated, they're typically pretty flat.
yeah.
They just sound like they're mid boosted because almost all amps have a mid scoop that happens. It's usually centered around 1K or 1.2K.
Yeah,
like in that range.
That's
the problem here. Is like even the Marshalls have a scoop there, but it's like really narrow. Okay, and with the Tube Screamer, I don't think there's any scoop there at like 1.4 or 1.5K. That's like maybe Q1 or something. It would be nice if somebody did that, like they made a Tube Screamer and then they somehow scooped the mids out just like a real amp, because then you could get that Marshall tone out of a Fender amp. I'm also not the guy that says I don't like to use amp in a box pedals into an amp. I think amp in a box pedals are their own special thing. They run them into cabinet model or whatever you're gonna do.
Right.
So for me,
I don't like running them.
I like the pedals that are kind of like, this is an overdrive and it's not supposed to sound like an amp overdrive. Like
So the DoD 250, I was using that with a Fender, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm sure you had good results.
Yep,
because it's really
one of the few pedals
weird upper end presence.
Right, one of the few pedals that didn't make it like, how do I describe it?
With super peaky and breathy.
Yeah, and it loses its character.
Yeah, they're a limited run.
Brittle.
John asked if the 5050 is a limited run. They're always doing new runs, but when they come out, there's usually 25 or 50 available.
I got to get one next time. I meant to get one 2 times ago. I didn't know about this last run.
Well, they sold out. They only had like 5 when they actually went to the general population because the Inner Circle bought them all.
But I'm looking to get. Well, I'll probably join the Inner Circle just to get into the next group. But
I can order you one before they go on sale. Just let me know.
Yeah. And so what happened was, I would just PayPal you. But anyway, the thing that I asked about was, hey, this, that, and the other thing. And so that's when I wound up getting the don't get me wrong, I love the Paisley Drive. I absolutely love Paisley. So I got the Paisley Deluxe. It's just that I'm like, sometimes you just want, for me, it's always about gain character. For me, a clean amp setting that allows me to get a character from the amp that I can, using gain, that I can either hit a channel on the amp and bring it off. I very rarely stack gain. But when I do, I want that stack, like Paisley does that pretty well. And it actually, the Blues Driver with the Wampler mod stacks well with the Paisley. Kind of surprising. But I wanted to get what I wanted to do was get the 5050, because that is that's one of those ones that's meant to stack and give itself that character. Like I said, with the 250 that I had in the front end of my Fender, almost every single overdrive I put in front of that thing made it sound brittle. It made it sound like it almost like there was I don't know. And I'm not a tone whore, so I don't know how to say it right. But it just sounded like gears grinding. You know what I mean?
You just get a lot of weird artifacts, distortion artifacts that are going on, and that has a lot to do with, like, for one thing, how gainy the pedal is to begin with. Because so we all know that, like, there's your overdrive pedals that, like, get into the distortion characteristics, like OCD. Yep. And soft clipping is a big part of that too. But really, I mean, when you're talking about the DoD 250. It's really a dirty boost. It's not really an overdrive pedal. It can be if you push that gain way up, but the best way to use it, and the way that I've seen most people use it, is as a dirty boost. Unless you're Yngwie Malmsteen and then you just turn it to 10 and run it into a Marshall on 10 with all the knobs turned up and just completely saturate the shit out of your tone. And it's so funny because you hear him do it, like when you're actually there at the venue and you hear him doing this, it has so much definition. It's not like completely compressed out the ass like you would think it is, because it's almost as though it smooths out all the, like, the distortion characteristics you'd normally get out of that Marshall sound. So it just sounds like a really sustained note.
Well, so the way I set my overdrive pedals and every overdrive setting, is I'll go in and I play like I would normally play, and I slowly creep the gain up just until it starts to break. That's really the point that I want that overdrive. I am not that's why the fuzz is so fun to me, because I'm pushing
It's
that
the first
thing.
pedal where you actually want that gainy like artifact thing to come through. No, that's what's fun about fuzz. And there, I heard that in that George Stripp's interview with I think it was Andertons, they were talking about like the first time you watch somebody with a fuzz, and like you actually see him play one and struggle to get that right note, and they have to like really work it and everything. He's like, that's when you realize like why people like fuzz, because you have to fight it.
Yeah,
and people like fighting it every once in a while. But that's
Right.
the one where you can fight it and then turn it off.
That's it.
Playing normal, not have to worry about it.
Exactly. So when I'm doing that, like, I mean, if you imagine the pedals that I have, the BD2 and the Paisleys, I'm just getting that gain to where it breaks up, and then a tad more, just a little. It's like more is more.
Yeah,
I just go to that little bit
that's
more.
Yngwie saying, by the way.
Yeah, and so and every guitar is different. It reacts differently with every guitar, and I can tell you this: it reacts differently with every amp, and the amp reacts differently with every cabinet. And so, anybody that thinks that I think that
there's
people,
no right or wrong way to run a pedal. Like I want
Right.
to disseminate this to your audience. Obviously, if you
Right.
find that a certain setting works better for you, then it works better for you. Don't complain about it. Don't think, oh, I'm not using this pedal right, so it's trash. Like just use it. I had that tendency where like I'll look at something and go, I'm not using it the intended way. I hate this.
oh,
Like,
this is
drives me
wrong.
crazy. It just drives me crazy.
Or your friends go, that's wrong.
The other thing is,
You
I
do
would
what you
recommend.
do.
I
That's
see
wrong.
lots of overdrive players who set their overdrive at Unity, and I kind of feel like they're missing out.
Yeah.
Like you don't realize that's if you boost just a little bit, a dB and a half.
Get that hair, and all of a sudden there's just that one thing that's where the character of the pedal is. But it's going to be different for every single player and every single guitar, because your attack is different and your rig is different.
We're talking about the clone that John got here. The clone in general, like the Klon in general, that circuit,
right?
It gets used two ways. One is the high gain distortion box, which I was fond of, but I think the other way is better, which is clean boost. And almost everybody loves it as a clean boost. There have been people that have actually taken the buffer out of a Klon and put it in other things with just a volume knob for a boost pedal. I mean, that's kind of like what this thing does. That's what it's, I'm being bit by my cat right now, and it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
That's kind of, look at this.
He's attacking you.
Yeah. Michonne she's being vicious with me. She wants attention. She's like, give me now.
She's like, right now.
So I think, in common use, you can shoot for those two tones. If that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to find it in that pedal. If you have the right amp set up, I would recommend a non-master volume amp cranked up with, like a Telecaster or something in front of it that's like very simple, because I had my Klon. It was in this like monster rig. I had all these different things, and the tones I like best out of it was just Klon into the amp, like shut off all the pedals in the rig, like take them all out of because I had an ES8. I was taking them all out of the loop, and I was just going guitar, Klon, amp, no other buffers getting in the way, nothing crazy like that. Just to make sure that like it was getting it the right way. Because that's the thing, when you start stacking buffers, and that's really the problem I have with modular pedal boards now, like thinking about the modularity of all, is that the input impedances and the output impedances of every pedal are totally different. And so getting that magic combination of this pedal goes really well with this pedal and then this pedal, and every time you add one, it just gets that much more insane. Where you're like, oh God, now I'm having an impedance problem.
That was, you know what, that was something that when I put the fuzz pedal into my circuit, I was very mindful of that, because I knew it was going to change the characteristic of the chain in general, and it did.
Well, that's why a lot of people love True Bypass, because if the pedal's off, it's not going to interact with everything else.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I think every way you do it has unique challenges. You want to use a Helix or an Axe-Fx, plug it into your computer and program it, because you're not going to want to bend over and dick around with that thing for 3 or 4 hours a day. And then if you're going to go modular pedals, be prepared to like really spend the time to find the right combinations of things and buy a lot of them, because ultimately, like, I have bought probably 50 pedals in the last 5 years. 50 pedals. And you think about that. And maybe out of all of those, like, really good combinations and stuff, and I've had some good stuff over those 50 pedals. 10, 15 combinations that were like really magic, that did something that like I couldn't do some other way.
So one of the other things that I want to leave people with is there is no silver bullet.
No.
And that guitar that you've been drooling over, or that pedal you've been drooling over, that amp that you've been drooling over. Somebody posted a question in another forum where they said, Champion 100, $350. He says, yeah, exactly. John's picking on me because I still want to play one. That doesn't mean that I think it's a silver bullet. It just means that I think that it's going to be, something that I want to try. And if it is what they say it is, then it's going to be worth it. But I got to try it. But anyway, what I was getting at is there is no silver bullet. There's no one thing that's going to make your tone perfect. You can buy, we've talked about this before, you can buy exactly the same. I can buy the same rig as John, and I can buy the same rig as you, and we will not sound the same playing it. You will sound like something different playing my rig, and I'm going to sound different playing your rig. Right. And don't think that that's going to bring some magical tone to you that you don't have. Will it change the characteristic of the guitar or the amp or stuff? Yeah, but don't think it's a magic bullet. And I think that that's something that people look for when they start pulling things out and replacing things. That they think there's that magical thing that's going to make them sound like their hero.
That's why people spend so much money on this stuff. That's why I've been guilty of it, because I've been chasing this dragon of like, hey, I really want my sound to sound like this. And I know what I hear in my head. And I'm starting to realize, like, it either doesn't exist, which, fine, or that reality is, I've gotten close enough to it already.
Right.
And frankly, the more I play lately, the more I feel like I'm close enough to it. Like, I'm right there where I want to be, that the sound in my head is what comes out of my monitor speakers here or out of an amp. And it comes back to that whole, like, the meme thing that's been going around for years now. It's like, you don't need more pedals, you need more practice.
Yeah.
And everyone,
at some point that is exactly right. I'll be completely honest. I took yesterday off. I didn't play at all yesterday, and that was the first time I
played enough for the both of us.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't played in a long time, and to be honest with you, it kind of felt weird not playing on that.
I was hoping my fingers would bleed, and I'll tell you why, because that means I'm going to develop some new callus, so that I will be able to play longer with more stamina. I have let my calluses go. I don't play as much as I used to.
So what has happened with me now is with the can't see it, with the Telecaster and the SE, so I got to get 3 guitar things on stage so that I can have the SE doing something, not the SE, but the CE doing something, and then or maybe the SE, because now I'm doing dive bomb stuff, which I wasn't doing before. Yeah. And the SG and the Tele. Now I got, like, I'm going to use the Tele for the disco stuff. I'm going to freak people the fuck out.
All right. So quick couple comments. The X8 I heard the other night was great. The guy that was playing the Van Halen and Metallica stuff was using a whammy pedal, and he had a Les Paul. Yeah. He had an 80s Les Paul, and he was using the whammy pedal, and you honestly could not tell it was a whammy pedal if you weren't looking.
Isn't that great?
It was really cool. And he was doing the dive bombs and stuff with it. It was awesome.
I'm gonna try to do it with this thing.
Yeah, dude. So once you get through with your 2 years of no gear, I think you should get one of these high-end modelers, because I think I'm about to embark on something running mine live after I heard. I mean, they didn't have good sound equipment there. They had the house PA, and I'm like, if that's what the AX, because I've heard the X8 before, like if that's what it sounds like in a live venue, like
Yeah.
the Helix is going to sound great, and there's not going to be holding me back.
Well,
My experience with FRFR was shitty cabinets.
yeah, I think that what the end game will change. It's 2 years away, but I think that what I've been looking at, honestly, has been probably the what's the modeler, the amp modeler? It doesn't have effects in it.
Oh, the Kemper. Well, the Kemper has effects in it, but they're just not great.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You don't buy a Kemper for the effects. You buy a Kemper for the model.
Yeah.
So I probably get a Kemper with the powered head.
Kemper might be in my future too. I don't know how. So it really depends on a couple of things. I would have to do an analysis of how far along in the life cycle the Kemper is.
Yeah.
Because I know the Helix is relatively new. It's only been out 2 years.
Yeah.
So I know.
And then I'd be into either a Helix.
3 years out of the Helix. I got another 3 years to go. But I could do a Kemper, powered Kemper, only use the power amp when I need it, and then get an HXFX on the floor, and totally. I actually probably don't even need the HXFX, to be honest with you. 90% of what I'm using the Helix for is like drive pedals and amps.
Yep.
I mean, really not using a lot else. And I hated the drive pedals at first, but now that I've gotten to work with them more and more and stop thinking about how real pedals work and start thinking about how the models work, they're great.
But if I have to start doing fly things and stuff, I might just get a nano cab, stick with the.
Yeah, no. I would keep that as a backup regardless.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah. No question.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, we've gone way over 2 hours at this point.
All right.
So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we got plenty of content for next week, right,
yes,
Jim?
we do. Because I had a whole section that I didn't get to.
I know. I'm sorry. Maybe we'll do.
Next week we have a special guest. He'll be at my house.
And then we also have to. Next week we should finalize the rules for the contest.
Yep.
And Jim and I will have some discussions about how we're going to handle that content, and then so look for that stuff to come out soon. And was there something else we need to reveal?
The humbucker giveaway.
No.
Nope. No other reveals yet.
All right. So Jim, you have been Jim this week, and I have been David.
I have been Jim.
I'm glad I was not Jim. You're glad that you were
and
not.
And I'm glad I was not David.
Yeah. So
I think.
But that being said, we have been
the Practical Guitarist.